United States territory is any extent of region under the sovereign jurisdiction of the federal government of the United States, including all waters and all U.S. naval vessels. The United States asserts sovereign rights for exploring, exploiting, conserving, and managing its territory. This extent of territory is all the area belonging to and under the dominion of the United States federal government for administrative and other purposes. The United States total territory includes a subset of political divisions. Territory of the United States. The United States territory includes any geography under the control of the United States federal government. Various regions, districts, and divisions are under the supervision of the United States federal government. The United States territory includes clearly defined geographical area and refers to an area of land, air, or sea under jurisdiction of United States federal governmental authority. The extent of territory is all the area belonging to and under the dominion of the United States of America federal government for administrative and other purposes. Constitution of the United States. Under Article 4 of the U.S. Constitution, territory is subject to and belongs to the United States. This includes tracts of land or water not included within the limits of any state and not admitted as a state into the Union. The Constitution of the United States states, "The Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States, and nothing in this Constitution shall be so construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States, or of any particular state." Congress of the United States. Congress possesses power to set territorial governments within the boundaries of the United States. The power of Congress over such territory is exclusive and universal. Congressional legislation is subject to no control, unless in the case of ceded territory. The U.S. Congress is granted the exclusive and universal power to set a United States territory's political divisions. Supreme Court of the United States. All territory under the control of the federal government is considered part of the United States for purposes of law. From 1901 to 1905, the U.S. Supreme Court in a series of opinions known as the Insular cases held that the Constitution extended ex propria vigere to the territories. However, the court in these cases also established the doctrine of territorial incorporation. Under the same, the Constitution only applied fully in incorporated territories such as Alaska and Hawaii, whereas it only applied partially in the new unincorporated territories of Puerto Rico, Guam and the Philippines. A Supreme Court ruling from 1945 stated that the term United States can have three different meanings in different contexts. The term United States may be used in any one of several senses. It may be merely the name of a sovereign occupying the position analogous to that of other sovereigns in the family of nations. It may designate the territory over which the sovereignty of the United States extends, or it may be the collective name of the states which are united by and under the Constitution. United States Department of the Interior. The United States Department of the Interior is charged with managing federal affairs within U.S. territory. The Interior Department has a wide range of responsibilities. The United States Department of the Interior is not responsible for local government or for civil administration except in the cases of Indian reservations, through the Bureau of Indian Affairs, as well as those territories administered through the Office of Insular Affairs. United States divisions, states, territories, and the subdivisions. The contiguous United States, Hawaii, and Alaska are divided into smaller administrative regions. These are called counties in 48 of the 50 states, and they are called boroughs in Alaska and parishes in Louisiana. A county can include a number of cities and towns, or just a portion of either type. These counties have varying degrees of political and legal significance. A township in the United States refers to a small geographic area. The term is used in two ways. A survey township is simply a geographic reference used to define property location for deeds and grants. A civil township is a unit of local government, originally rural in application. Territories are subdivided into legally administered tracts, e.g., geographic areas that are under the authority of a government. The District of Columbia and territories are under the direct authority of Congress, although each is allowed home rule. The United States government, rather than individual states or territories, conducts foreign relations under the U.S. Constitution. Federal enclaves, such as domestic military bases and national parks, are administered directly by the federal government, to varying degrees. The federal government exercises concurrent jurisdiction with the states where federal land is part of the territory previously granted to a state. History of United States territory. At times, territories are organized with a separate legislature, under a territorial governor and officers appointed by the President and approved by the Senate of the United States. A territory has been historically divided into organized territories and unorganized territories. An unorganized territory was generally either unpopulated or set aside for Native Americans and other indigenous peoples in the United States by the U.S. federal government until such time as the growing and restless population encroached into the areas. In recent times, unorganized refers to the degree of self-governmental authority exercised by the territory. As a result of several Supreme Court cases after the Spanish-American War, the United States had to determine how to deal with its newly acquired territories, such as the Philippines, Puerto Rico, Guam, Wake Island, and other areas that were not part of the North American continent and which were not necessarily intended to become a part of the Union of States. As a consequence of the Supreme Court decisions, the United States has since made a distinction between incorporated and unincorporated territories. In essence, an incorporated territory is land that has been irrevocably incorporated within the sovereignty of the United States and to which the full corpus of the U.S. Constitution applies. An unincorporated territory is land held by the United States, and to which Congress of the United States applies selected parts of the Constitution. At the present time, the only incorporated U.S. territory is the unorganized Palmyra Atoll. Insular areas. The United States currently administers 16 territories as insular areas. Palmyra Atoll is the only incorporated territory remaining, and having no government it is also unorganized. The remaining are unincorporated territories of the United States. Puerto Rico and Northern Mariana Islands are styled as Commonwealths. Dependent areas. Several islands in the Pacific Ocean and Caribbean Sea are dependent territories of the United States. The Guantanamo Bay Naval Base, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, is administered by the United States under a perpetual lease, much as the Panama Canal Zone used to be before the signing of the Torrijos-Carter treaties. An only mutual agreement to U.S. abandonment of the area can terminate the lease. From July 18, 1947, until October 1, 1994, the United States administered the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands, but the trust ceased to exist when the last member state of Palau gained its independence to become the Republic of Palau. The Panama Canal, and the canal zone surrounding it, was territory administered by the United States until 1999, when control was relinquished to Panama. The United States has made no territorial claim in Antarctica but has reserved the right to do so. Maritime territory of the United States. The government of the United States of America has claims to the oceans in accord with the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which delineates its zone of territory adjacent to territorial lands and seas. The United States protects this marine environment, though not interfering with other lawful uses of this zone. The United States jurisdiction has been established on vessels, ships, and artificial islands. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan, through Proclamation No. 5030, claimed a 200-mile exclusive economic zone. In December 1988, President Reagan, through Proclamation No. 5928, extended U.S. territorial waters from 3 nautical miles to 12 nautical miles for national security purposes. However, a legal opinion from the Justice Department questioned the President's constitutional authority to extend sovereignty, as Congress has the power to make laws concerning the territory belonging to the United States under the U.S. Constitution. In any event, Congress needs to make laws defining if the extended waters, including oil and mineral rights, are under state or federal control. The primary enforcer of maritime law is the U.S. Coast Guard. Federal and state governments share economic and regulatory jurisdiction over the waters owned by the country. International law. The United States is not restricted from making laws governing its own territory by international law. United States territory can include occupied territory, which is a geographic area that claims sovereignty, but is being forcibly subjugated to the authority of the United States of America. United States territory can also include disputed territory, which is a geographic area claimed by the United States of America and one rival governments. Like many nations, the United States of America has acquired territory by force and conquest. Under the Hague Conventions of 1899 and 1907, United States territory can include areas occupied by and controlled by the United States Armed Forces. When de facto military control is maintained and exercised, occupation extends to the territory. Military personnel in control of the territory have a responsibility to provide for the basic needs of individuals under their control, to prevent systematic abuse of puppet governments by the occupation forces. They must enforce laws that were in place in the territory prior to the occupation. Customs territories. The 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico form the main customs territory of the United States. Special rules apply to foreign trade zones in these areas. Separate customs territories are formed by American Samoa, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, the U.S. minor outlying islands, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Other areas. U.S. sovereignty includes the airspace over its land and territorial waters. No international agreement exists on the vertical limit that separates this from outer space, which is international. Federal jurisdiction includes federal enclaves like national parks and domestic military bases, even though these are located in the territory of a state. Host states exercise concurrent jurisdiction to some degree. The United States exercises extraterritoriality on overseas embassies and military bases, including the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base in Cuba. Despite exercise of extraterritorial jurisdiction, these overseas locations remain under the sovereignty of the host countries. The federal government also exercises property ownership, but not sovereignty over land in various foreign countries. Examples include the John F. Kennedy Memorial built at Runnymede in England, and 13 hectares around Point du Hoc in Normandy, France.